Hey everybody, it's Carl again here with the tip number 10. Gosh, we're at tip number 10 already for the 23 best home buying tips that I've learned in 23 years as a real estate broker. Boy, I'll tell you, tip number 10, this one is critical. I wish I probably put this in an order that made sense, that was like most important to last, but this is so important, and they're all important, but this one, gosh, is really up there. So I hope you write it down. Get a big pen, get a big marker, whatever you've got to do to write down point number 10, or tip 10, I should say. The money is made on the buy. The money's made on the buy. Amen. Let me tell you, when people are thinking of selling their properties, okay, I've been a listing agent for an awful long time. I've worked with buyers, of course, over plenty of times over 20 to 23 years. But, you know, I've listed a lot of property and I've worked with a lot of sellers, and it's always a shock to them to discover that the money is made on the buy. It's not when you actually sell the property. No. You're going to actually make money when you sell the property. Don't get me wrong. But the money you make at that point, okay, is the money you made when you bought the property. Here, let me explain. Point number 1, I wrote down, when you sell your home. Here, answer me a couple questions. Let me hear what you've got to say about this. When you sell your home, point number 1, can you control the market at that time? You know, can you control the market the way, you know, if it's a good market, a seller's market, a buyer's market, if it's a foreclosures, short sales, you know, can you control that? I wrote down, can you control the circumstances? You know, for example, divorce, death, or maybe even kids, having kids. You got to have a little bit extra room. I mean, can you control a lot of these things? I wrote down, can you control the costs? You know, when you're trying to sell your property, can you control the costs? Well, yeah, I mean, somewhat. You can control it a little bit. I wrote down, can you say how much equity you'll have? You know, the odds are, okay, if you've been honest with yourself to any of these questions or all of them, chances are you can't really control much of any of that when you sell. Point number 2, and be honest. Point number 2, when you buy your home, can you control the market or the time that you buy? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's a great market for a buyer, then you bet you could definitely jump into the market. If it's not such a great market, if the interest rates are incredibly high or prices are not so good, well, yeah, maybe you could just not hold off, or maybe not buy, right? I wrote down, can you control the circumstances? Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm, you know, really sick, I'm not going to go buy a property. If I'm going through a divorce, I'm not going to go buy a property. If I'm if I'm having a child, then yeah, I am going to go perhaps buy a property, and that's going to give me some choices, right? I wrote down, can you control the costs? Well, yeah, I mean, especially as a buyer, goodness gracious, every buyer knows it doesn't cost anybody anything to work with an agent. They're free. I mean, as a buyer, your services are paid for by the seller, so who wouldn't do that, right? They wrote down, can you have a say in how much equity you have? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, if a property is a certain amount, and you offer a certain amount, and you get it at a certain price, well, then you have instant equity. What if, let's say you bought it at a certain price, let's say that it was this price and it was worth that, and you made the offer at that price, and you know what, no, well, gosh, the appraisal came in and it was this. Well, gosh, you've got some equity there. Right? When you think about it, you have some say over that. I wrote down point number 3. As you can see, there's very little that you can do to control when you sell. Nothing is certain. But if you're going to play by the odds, well, then you'll win. I wrote down, you can control time. And that, I wrote down, is a valuable asset. I hope that tip was helpful for you today. If it was, do me a favor, share it with a social network, share it with somebody you think could use it, and I'd love to hear your comments and suggestions below. And as always, I hope you have a powerful sales day. Bye-bye.